From Florida's Panhandle,
you can look at this one and see the roofs were completely just ripped away.
To the Caribbean.
Our boat sank. Oh, it was tragic, but we're alive and we have each other.
A hurricane season that can't end too soon. In all, 19 storms have taken more than 100 lives, caused almost $4 billion in damage, and rattled the nerves of millions. This incredibly active season was no surprise. It was expected. And ironically, the man who predicted it lives here, nearly 6,000 feet above sea level, 1,800 miles from Miami. He's Dr. William Gray, a professor of atmospheric science at Colorado State University in Fort Collins. The fact that he's landlocked in snow country far from the tropics is no problem. He looks around the globe for signals that can predict the future by comparing them with weather patterns of the past.
We believe strongly that the atmosphere in the future will behave as it has in the past. Everyone gets feelings, gee, this is going to be active or not so active. You just can't go with that. You've got to go with the historical, solid, global data sets.
And let the science do the talking.
And right. So
for 12 years, Bill and his team have been searching the world for signals. Pressure differences in the tropical Pacific, the direction and strength of upper-level winds over the Atlantic, barometric pressure in the Caribbean. And when the 1989 forecast went bad, Bill went looking for signals elsewhere and found an answer in Africa.
We looked at this Africa rainfall data really hard. God spent a lot of time, a lot of effort on it.
And another goof in '93 convinced Bill that El Nino, that warm water phenomenon off South America, had to be forecast better because of its big effect on hurricanes.
We had been relying on other El Nino forecasters to do the forecasting for us, and I said, nuts, we're going to do it ourselves.
And then comes 1995, and the storm indicators all point to an active season. Upper-level wind direction over the Atlantic, favorable. Upper-level Caribbean winds, favorable. Caribbean barometric pressure, favorable. And the big ones, African rainfall, looks neutral, and El Nino, slightly favorable. So a lot of storms formed, but the strong ones avoided the U.S.
It was mainly that trough off the East Coast that recurved the storms. Storms tended to have a right turn to them. It's mostly related to that trough.
And while the Virgin Islands, St. Martin, and Pensacola are still trying to recover from 1995, Dr. Gray is looking toward 1996. He says early indications are that the upper-level wind direction will be unfavorable next year. African rainfall, slightly favorable, and El Nino pointing toward neutral. The other factors won't be forecast until the spring.
But the way we see it is not as active as this year, but not as inactive as the 4 years of 91 through 94 have been. Sort of halfway between those two.
But what's the question he gets asked more than any other?
I would categorically say no. There's no reasonable person would think that this could be attributed to global warming.
And popular question number two,
the storm surge can't get me at 5,000 feet here.